Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is Eddie Marcus one more time. Look, I woke up this morning and there were a couple of things that got my attention. One was there was an interview on social media with Warren Buffett, and they were talking about money. And ladies and gentlemen, whether you know it or not, money is nothing but a tool that's used to make money. And the fact that it has to go through your hand kind of gives it some legitimacy as far as the masses are concerned. And all of us are being used by those who use money to make money. That was one of those things that got my attention. The other thing that got my attention, I went on up in the kitchen a little bit later to get a cup of coffee, and there was turned the TV on, the preacher there preaching about, and Jesus, before he was getting ready to turn water into wine. And you heard that story, and I'm thinking about, wait a minute now. I remember when I was just a little boy, I heard the story about Jesus turning water into wine. And here I am now over the hill, brand new, a new person, a new way of life. And here they're talking about Jesus turning water into wine. Now, I can understand for the youth, if you want them to get the same story, I can understand. But for the parents that's bringing them there, for the old people like me, I mean, what does that say to us? And so, ladies and gentlemen, that's the thing that gets my focus. When we're living in a world where all of the suffering and all the pain is going on, and you want to hear somebody tell you about God, the magnificent power of God, the best you understand, you know, we find out a lot of times that things that we used to think were some happening by some God was just really naturally happening. We just didn't know it. And we might find out that this God that we think we know could be just life itself, a big bowl of life out of nothing but life. And everything is just unfolding, evolving into all, well, we don't know where it's going to take us to. But right now, we have to, and we have, given it to God. And here we are with all of this stuff going around. And they're telling us about Jesus turning water into wine. Out of all of my years of living, and I'm sure that story kept going around and around and around, what has Jesus turning water into wine had to do with making a society the way it is? Did it help to make it as evil as it is? Did it help to make it as careless for others as it is? Did that story do that? Well, did it prevent it? Did it do it? Well, who knows? It might have done some prevention. And that was a thing. And another thing is, as I was leaving the house to come out to the park to do this post for you, my neighbor right across the street, he was manicuring his lawn. I mean, his lawn looks real nice. Man, looked like he might have some money. Or he sure cares about his house. Because you see him there all the time doing that. And my neighbor to the left of me, I guess, his wife, the family, a couple of kids, they were out there raking leaves. And that was funny to me. I need to rake mine, but making this post is more important. So I'm seeing him and his family, and it's tickled me pink because he got these two little kids, right? I would guess they look like they might be 7 or 8, and or 5 or 6, but they're raking leaves. And I'm reminded, just the other day, they were little babies. Little babies. I mean, little babies. And then they're little toddlers. Now they're up raking leaves. And I'm seeing them come up into this world just like we did. Now, I don't know what the conditions of the world were for you at the time that you were coming up. And I'm not talking about saying that you're old. But we know what it is today. And we see what we're giving our kids. It's no doubt. It's nothing that's slipping upon us. Well, there were some things that slipped upon us. At least we didn't know we were as unprepared to deal with crisis situations like this as we are. We were kidding ourselves. Big, great America, baddest thing on earth. Russians saying, big Russia, baddest thing on earth. China saying, big China, the baddest thing on earth. And all over the earth, people are suffering. Lack of this, lack of that, lack of this, lack of that. And this virus, for some strange reason, kind of became a rude awakening. Just how unequipped we are, and how just how the reality of us not being God we are, at least not yet. And so I'm sitting there thinking about these kids, and I'm hoping that we can make a difference. So partly of this mission that I am on, it is to make sure that these kids get better than we got from our parents, and perhaps that we've given to our kids. But at this point in time, some of you might still be having kids, so you can be giving your kids something that they can be thankful for. And those of us who are older, we know what we're talking about. Making the things better. Let's, as I often say, let's make sure that the people can have their needs, their wants, and their desires met. That seems like it is one of the best things a person can do, to make sure that you got your needs, your wants, and your desires met. It almost sounds like somebody asked in the Bible, since that this is a Sunday, what is the greatest thing that you can do? And they say it is to love God. To love that power that you can't see except the evidence is all over us. And they say, then okay, if that's the greatest thing, then what is the second? They say, well, the second thing is to love one another. Some say love one another as you want them to love you. Some say love one another as you want God to love you. But love them nonetheless. Love is love. Ain't no big love, no little love. Love is love. And the desires. Getting these things met. I mean, that's absolutely fantastic. That's absolutely fantastic. Don't you agree? Now, if you're loving God and loving people as yourselves, then how you gonna work it? How you gonna work it in this life? Somebody said that you should seek ye first the kingdom of God. The kingdom of God, this wonderful God that does all these wonderful things. Seek ye first that mindset. Seek that kind of mindset that is righteous, be just. Everything got its portion of life. Seek that, my friends. And what will happen? All things will be added unto it. That means things that you can't see, things that are in the imagination, things that you put faith and put work behind will unfold. The heaven, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. I heard somebody say that was one of the greatest prayers and one of the last words that came out of the Father, out of your Jesus' mouth. That thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Now, you see anything in there about money? They didn't say a thing about money. But they say the question should be asked to all of you. Do you want peace in your lives? Everybody wants peace. Is there anybody out there, even, well, the military people out there with these guns and bombs and stuff, they might want a little tapping, a little war. but they know somebody else over there got the same thing, tapping, wanting a little war. So everybody knows that if something starts, that's probably it. And so for mutual destruction, they've guaranteed maybe for at least a while their survival from that kind of incident. So my friends, everybody wants peace, but that's not all. How many of you want prosperity in your lives? How many want to be productive, do something, go places, do things, achieve things? I think everybody said they did. Is that right? Everybody? All you said that? Okay. Seems like this must be a good message. Everybody's agreeing on stuff. Okay. How many of you would like to live free? Freedom. You know what freedom does, don't you? Freedom opens a door for you to do all things, even for you to do things that infringes upon the rights of others. But the time you start doing that, that's when the cancer begins, and cancer destroys. Unless you can wake up and stop it before it does it. Now, we have been being destroyed by cancer all our lives. It's time we wake up and stop it. Save our kids from getting it. But it's free. But you got to have choice. You can have your cake and eat it too. You can sit up at home and drink your alcohol without the government telling you you can't drink. You can sit at home and smoke your weed without the government telling that you can't do it. You can sit at home and smoke your crack without the government saying you can't do it. I just mentioned those things because they are some of the things that the government and everybody try to act like they hate. But people do it for the reasons that they do it. And whether you hate it or not, it exists. And when freedom comes around, it means that. And there are ways that people won't even have any interest in smoking weed or crack. You discover what that is. Employ that. And don't worry about the crack. You just don't worry about the mule being blind. Just sit in the saddle because you hold the line. So you got freedom. You got peace, prosperity, and freedom. Now, what else that everybody would agree on that you want? You want joy of life. Joy of life. The joy of life. You know, waking up in the morning time, happy. Going to bed at nighttime, happy. Living through the daytime, happy. Your neighbors are happy. Everybody's happy. The joy of life. Now, when you put all of that together, what does that basically mean? That means the fulfillment of your dreams. All of you, everybody in America, everybody on the face of the earth, just by trusting in that you can't see, but the evidence is here, have that same faith and watch the stuff that you have in faith in that you can't see except in your mind become real. Because you put it to your hands and your feet and your mouth and you created it. Name that something? Peace, prosperity, freedom, joy of life, and dreams fulfilled. And somebody telling you about Jesus turning water into wine. Well, if they're using that story to say that this hell that we're having all around us, by that same power that was used to turn water to wine, we use that to turn hell into heaven on earth. Then if the preacher, if whoever's teaching that, if whoever's talking about can show some significance to that, then okay. But the truth of the matter is the evidence of that being said, when we look around us, we can't see that evidence. So that's why it grabbed me, it just shook me as being a waste of time. But ladies and gentlemen, but what does that translate? Out of all of the things that I just mentioned, you say it sounds good. It sounds good, Potter. It sounds good, man. But how did that translate to affect us in our daily life? You saying we got the joy of a life and peace and prosperity. What does that mean basically in our daily life, brother? Okay, let me tell you what that means. How significant, how wise this powerful God that you can't see is. Well, in building this earth. Now, I'm just going to keep this conversation to not to all living things, but just to the living humans, okay? Okay, because I'm sure God better a plan for all living things, but I'm going to deal with us. Created the earth and all the stuff that's on the earth, in the earth, above the earth, whether it's seen or unseen, put here by that power we can't see, for the purpose of serving whomever on this earth it might be able to serve. Now,